Why? What are we trying to figure out about widget? I love how some of you are looking at the charts there to help you. Go ahead, young man. Yeah, so everyone say character trait.
Character trait.
A character trait is a word or adjective that describes a widget. Okay? You ready? Widget. Widget was a little stray dog. He had no home. He had no friends. What character trait would describe Widget? Let's think about what we know. I know Widget's by himself walking over the hill. See that in the picture. It says here that he has no home. It says he has no friends. These are my details in the text, the things that I know. So how would I describe Widget? Think of a word in your brain. I'm gonna tell you my word. I think this would describe Widget. Show me if you were also thinking lonely.
Yeah.
I think lonely. I think Widget's lonely right now because he's by himself. He has no friends. He has no home. So as I read on, I'm going to keep Widget being lonely. I'm going to keep that character trait lonely in my brain. I'm going to think as I gain more evidence. Is Widget still lonely, or do I have another word to describe Widget? Lonely's right there in the orange. You see it? All right. He was very sad and lonely. He was cold and hungry too. He saw a house at the end of a road. There was a door just his size. He peeked inside. He saw 6 cats, 6 warm beds, and 6 bowls of hot food. What's he gonna do? Widget dove for the food and straight into Mrs. Diggs. Why, you poor thing, said Mrs. Diggs. I wish you could stay, but I'm afraid the girls just can't stand dogs. Uh-oh. Widget looked at the girls. He looked at Mrs. Diggs. She seemed so nice. Widget really wanted to stay. Meow, said Widget. What character trait would describe Widget right now? Let's take a moment and think about what he did, okay? Remember, he walks into the house, goes running for the food. He runs into Miss Diggs. Miss Diggs picks him up, and what does he say? He says, meow. How would you describe Widget? Raise a silent hand if you can tell me one character trait to best describe Widget. Remember, if you need help, you can look over there at all the examples. Yes, young lady?
My name is Denver, and I think Widget is dishonest because he said meow, and he's not actually a cat.
Give me a high five. You know why I loved your answer so much? You didn't just tell me character trait. You also told me why you were thinking that. You said dishonest because he said meow. He was pretending he was a cat. I agree with you, but that's not my only character trait. Is there another character trait that you were thinking of in your brain? Yes, young man?
My name is Zachary, and I think he was clever or smart because he was thinking of because that was really good idea. Because that was a really good idea to stay in the house because he's a dog and there's 6 cats and since cats and dogs are both animals, he can just pretend that he's a cat instead of saying woof woof, he said meow.
Yeah, you're thinking that it was very clever of him to come up with that idea. I agree with you. Air high five. Good job. You were also thinking clever, smart, or dishonest. Awesome. As we read on, keep that in your brain, okay? You might think of a different character trait to describe Widget. Give me a sec, okay? Or you might decide to stick with the character trait that you already have. Ready? Mrs. Diggs laughed. Well, girls, she said, what do you think? The girls puffed up. Can you see, huh? Can you see? Okay. Widget puffed up. The girls hissed and spit. The Widget hissed and spit. The girls growled. Widget purred, played with the toy mouse, and smelled like a dog, but he acted like a cat. What character trait best describes Widget? Maybe you're thinking of the one you thought of before. Maybe you're thinking of a new one. Think about what he did. Think about the way he acted. Don't talk yet. Silently talk. Turn to a neighbor. Don't talk yet. Turn to a neighbor in 3. Turn to a neighbor in 2. Turn to a neighbor in 1. Raise your hand if you don't have a neighbor. Honey, would you like to work with those two? Okay. With your partner, tell me one word, one character trait that would describe Widget and how you know. Go ahead.
I think she was he copies the cat and it's something like so he could be and I using the cat but acting as a cat. I think it's honest because he acted like a cat when he really wasn't. So I think he's still being smart less than because he's good. I think he's probably good. Confusing the confidence. I think he's confident because he wasn't a cat. He was trying to be a cat so he can live confident to act like a cat. Watch this.
All right, guys, turn over here. Let me see all your eyes. Bodies forward in 5, 4. Wow, some of you are quick. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. So I was talking to our young man in back. What's your name, hon? Brandon? Landon. Talking to Landon in the back, and Landon thinks that he's still being dishonest. Did anyone else say dishonest? Who says that he's still being dishonest? Because he's behaving like a cat, even though he's really a dog. If you picked a different character trait, that's okay too, just so you can tell me why you picked it. Keep the character trait you were thinking in your brain. We're going to keep on reading and see if you can find more evidence to either support your character trait, or maybe you are going to change your character trait based on what happens with Widget. Mrs. Diggs set a bowl down for Widget. Widget started eating. He never took his eyes off the girls. The girls started eating. They never took their eyes off Widget. Why, you fit right in, said Mrs. Diggs to Widget. And Widget did fit right in. From that day on, Widget ran with the girls, played with the girls, and curled up with the girls. In fact, he had so much fun with the girls, he sometimes forgot he was a dog. Did you see him up there in the tree?
Oh my god!
And dog really do that? No. One day, Mrs. Diggs tripped on a toy and fell down. She didn't move. Widget and the girls were worried. They meowed for help. No one came. They screeched. They yelled. They caterwauled for help. No one came. Just like that. Then Widget barked for help. The girls were shocked. Then they barked for help too. Everyone came. Mrs. Diggs was saved. I didn't know you had a dog, said a neighbor. Oh yes, said Mrs. Diggs. It's nice to have a dog, right girls? Almost. Oh yes, the girls agreed. So this is my last time I'm going to ask you. Ready? What character trait best describes Widget at the end of the story? Turn to your same neighbor.
I think he was confident because he was trying to help them.
Armani, talk.
Because she fell I think
Let me show you what I did.
I mean, we want to do it.
To help you? And so thinking about that, what does that tell us about him? How does he do at the end?
He thought the sixth cat was not would tear if he got it, but they really did it. I think his name's what did he do? Because when the other animals were around me,
You don't know how to clap? You don't know how to clap?
Tell me one
Clap
character
then.
trait you or your neighbor said that describes Widget at the end of the story. Yes.
He is honest because at the end he started acting like the dog he is.
Good. Excellent. Did anyone have a different mark? Yes, in the Navy picture. You.
My name is Madison, and I think that he's brave because even though he has to show the cats that he was a dog, he did it to save his skin.
Awesome. And you know what? That word is excellent because it isn't even on my chart. So you had that word in your brain, didn't you? Great job. Both of those answers I absolutely agree with. So boys and girls, in the beginning of the story, sorry honey, I don't want to go over time, okay? In the beginning of the story, we said, eyes are up here. Thank you for tracking. In the beginning of the story, we said that Widget was lonely. At the end of the story, throughout the middle of the story, we said that he was being dishonest to himself. At the end of the story, we said that he was being honest based on how he barked and acted like a dog and not a cat anymore. And we said that he was brave because he had the courage to be who he was, even though he knew that maybe he wouldn't belong. At the end of the story, Widget is happier, and he feels like he fits in, like he belongs. He's confident in who he is. So as we are reading today, hold on. As you are reading today and every day you're reading by yourself or with your teacher or with a partner, you can think closely about your characters. You can work really hard to understand who they are on the inside. And remember, good readers, they infer character traits. They think of a word, they think of an adjective that would best describe that character because it helps you understand what you're reading and it helps you really like reading a lot more. Okay? Do you have questions? Go ahead.
My uncle, he has like 4 to 5 dogs.
Wow. Go ahead.
And I have another word for the beginning of the story.
Go ahead.
Miserable.
Miserable. That's a very good word. Yes.
I would say Widget is confident at the end because he was brave. He was confident. He wasn't scared enough to think to protect to bark to get for help because he knew cat didn't like dog and he didn't care anyway because he barked so what he needed help because Miss Widget was sick.
So you're saying that he was confident because he knew that he could be who he was and save his owner. Go ahead. Very good.
Awesome. Can we say thank you to our heels?
Thank you, Tar Heels.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me, can you all say thank you?
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, second grade. You guys did a great job. You're just as smart as
Kiss
I
your
am.
brains.